Hi, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jessica Freck, and I'm the Technical Content Manager here at Mozenda. And today we're going to go over one of our new features, the Retroactive Request Blocking button. I'm going to give everyone just a second to jump online here. If you want, you can open your Mozenda Agent Builder in your web console just to follow along. And if you're not familiar with Mozenda yet, and this is your first time seeing what we're doing, we're experts in web data extraction, and we offer both software and service solutions. Okay, I'm going to introduce Ben Alexander. He's our product specialist manager. He's the one that's going to be running this webinar with you today, so I'm going to let him take it from here. Don't forget to send in your questions. I'll be moderating the chat room and the questions, so I'll make sure that all of your questions get heard by Ben and he can answer those for you. So yeah, here's Ben.
Hi everyone. Thanks to all of you for participating in our webinar today. I'm really excited to review some of the cool features that we've got at Mozenda that some of you might not be super familiar with yet. In particular, we're going to be talking about our retroactive request blocking setting. And in order for us to really understand what that does and how it can benefit us in our agent building processes, we're first going to review what request blocking is in general. So we'll go ahead and get started. Feel free to kind of follow along in our in your own agent builder, but it's not necessary. So the first thing we're going to do is just open up our agent builder on our main Mozenda home page right here. And I'm going to start a new agent from this page. So all I'm going to do right now is show you a little bit about our navigation request window, what's involved there, and what kind of information we can get from it. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that this window is open, this navigation request window. If it's not open on yours, there's two ways to get it open. You can right click on this bar up here and enable it right there. And the other option, maybe if you don't even have any of these windows open, is to come up to the File button, select that, go to Settings, and then you can enable any windows you'd like here. And specifically, you can come enable the navigation request window. So once that's enabled, we're going to go ahead and take a look at what some of the stuff we're seeing here is. And to some of you, you might come on and immediately recognize what's going on here. And for others of you, this might kind of look like a mess a little bit, but we're going to kind of take a look at each piece and see what each part means. So specifically, right, when we're loading a web page, whether it's through the Mozenda Agent Builder or on any type of browser, we see one request that we make, right? We go to mozenda.com/builderwelcome, or we go to google.com or facebook.com, right? But what we don't see a lot of times is that in the background there are many other requests happening to get images to fill the page, to get data to fill the page, to perform JavaScript implementations, to get styling, to get even ads and analytics. And so a lot of times we will load one page, and little do we know there's actually could be potentially hundreds of other requests going through. So to just kind of get a feel for how we can kind of dissect and kind of understand what those requests look like, we're going to look at just this main Mozenda Builder Welcome page. And you can see that this right here, this first request, is just our main document. This is us requesting mozenda.com/builderwelcome. But you can see that it's getting .png files. See these here, all end in .png. These are the images. And as the titles indicate, right, we're getting the Mozenda logo, which is probably that right there. The Go button, which is probably that, right? We're also getting .css files, which is styling. Which essentially, when we remove stuff like that, it basically is what makes the page look readable, makes it look presentable for a viewer. So I'm going to show you really quick what we can do with some request blocking. I'm going to move a little bit quick right here, and don't worry, you don't need to really understand this part because we'll take it a little bit slower in just a few minutes. But I'm going to show you what happens once you start blocking some stuff on the page. So we're just blocking a whole lot of things. We're going to hit save, and then we're going to test this agent now. And we can see that the page obviously looks really different now. For the normal user, right, they're probably not going to like this that much because, you know, they can't interact with this page in the way they'd like. However, as an agent designer, We want the data to come in as quick as we can, right? And if we can eliminate resources that aren't necessary to the data extraction process, we can do a couple of things. The top one probably being speeding up the agent, and we're going to go through some examples of that today. And the second one being, also decreasing variation that's occurring, right? When we block certain requests, we're no longer dependent on those requests going through in order for something on the page to work correctly. So anyway, this is kind of the basic intro to what the navigation request window or what it is, and now we're going to jump into kind of analyzing a real agent and start looking into how request blocking can help with it. So give me just 1 minute. I'm going to open up one of our agents. Okay, so here's our first agent. It's very simple. All it does is go through, come to this page, and it comes and captures each of these headlines and then clicks into them and captures the content found on the page following. So we can see right away, let's just watch this navigation. We're just loading the agent right now, and you can already see that it's already jumping up to 29 items on this page alone. It's loading page 2 now. It's up to 62, right? And this first page has over 300 requests, right? And you're probably thinking, what on earth could be coming through it with 337 requests when all we really want is to come to this page, capture a couple headlines, and click into them, right? There's no way we could actually need this many requests. So that's where it starts to get fun. We're going to start learning a couple of ways about how we can get this to work. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to actually put a timer on the webinar real quick. I'm going to refine this list right here. You can just right click and go to properties. And I'm going to refine this so that we're only going to be looking at like the first, let's say, 5 headlines for now, just because we don't want to take all your time clicking through each of these links, right? And we're going to run this agent, and I'm going to time it. We're just going to see about how long it takes. And now this is without any request blocking, actually. So let me clear all these, hit save. You know what? I'm actually going to reopen the agent builder really quick just so that we can make sure that nothing's getting blocked. Just be 1 second. I just don't want any of the requests to get blocked right away because we want to kind of do a difference between the with request blocking and without. So there we go. Now we'll get it back up. It's totally clean. We're not blocking anything. We're getting every request sent through the way we would expect as a normal user. I'm going to come back into this agent and make this list only get the first 5 again. And we'll go ahead. Let's make sure auto block is off. We'll talk about this in just a minute. And we are going to test this agent. So we'll watch this go through, and we'll watch our navigation requests as we do. You can see that we're already getting quite a few. We're up to 144. About 15 seconds in. Doesn't look like we've even gotten through to one headline yet. So the first page will probably take a little bit longer, and then each other one will take its own time as well as we're clicking into each headline. But we're kind of coming up on 30 seconds now. We look at our testing results. We still haven't gotten any results yet. Come back over here, look at our timer. So nothing yet. There we go. So we've now clicked into our first headline. And we look at our testing results. It's loading this page now, coming up on a minute now. Almost there. You know what, we might, just for testing purposes, just because we don't want to wait so long, we might just let one of them load up, one of the headlines, and then pause the agent and try to put some request blocking in and see how much faster it gets. I picked a particular site that I know has a lot of requests. If we come look, right, it's going to have quite a few already. You know, this one might have even been so backed up that it's starting to hit a couple website errors. So I'm actually going to stop this one right now, but we can already kind of see, right, 2 minutes in, and we haven't even been able to get one headline yet because it's waiting on so many requests that are happening in the background. So we're going to try to speed that up real quick. So the first thing we're going to do is apply a setting called auto block. Auto block is kind of how it sounds. It tries to automatically block certain requests based on a predefined list of expressions that Mozenda has outlined. Tends to eliminate requests like ads or analytics, stuff that isn't necessary to what we're trying to accomplish, right, which is to extract data. So auto block can be enabled in two ways. You can come up here to the File, Settings window, and you can enable auto block right here. But the much easier way is to just enable it by clicking this button. So we're going to run it now with just auto block and see if we get any improvement here. Keep in mind we were over 2 minutes and still had yet to really get into a single headline. So let's see how we do with just auto block. There we go. We've already got one. Oops, I forgot to start the timer. Let's stop that again and try it again. So keep in mind we were well over 2 minutes before, and now with just auto block on, let's see how long it takes us to get our first headline. There we go. There's one. Took us 11 seconds as opposed to almost 2.5 minutes. There's two. We'll let it get to 5 on this one. So I'm sure a lot of you are already getting, a little bit excited seeing that just by clicking auto block, we've just improved this this agent speed by a huge factor. So now we're just getting this last one. So there we go. We went from waiting over 2.5 minutes to get one headline to getting all the headlines in about, I let the timer go a little bit longer, but about 40 seconds. So that's already pretty cool, right? We've already been able to increase the speed almost more than double. And now we're going to even make it a little bit faster, actually. So we're going to come back and look at our navigation requests again. And you can see that we still have these red ones. These are the ones that have been blocked. If you click the blocked button right here, it'll get rid of those ones, and it'll only show you the ones that are still getting through. So we see that there's still quite a few coming through, and we start to think, well, what else can we try to block, right? So then we're going to jump right in here to our request blocking window. You just click that, it'll open up. Here's all the predefined ones that auto block has put in here. It has detected that they're not necessary, and so it's put them in there automatically. But we're going to add a few of our own now. So if you click this new button right here, it gives you a couple predefined options that we can choose. Images, media, which kind of speak for themselves. CSS, we mentioned before, is styling, right? And then JavaScript is a whole nother story. It's different implementations that go on. So as we're building this agent, we need to ask ourselves, we are only capturing the headline and the content. So do we care about images? Probably not, right? So we're going to add a request blocking expression for images. Do we need media? Probably not, right? So we'll add that one as well. Do we need styling? It's nice when you're building the agent so you can see the way that it really would look. You can interact with it normally, but is it important? Is styling important to actually capturing the data? Not really, so we're going to do that. The next one we're going to look at is JavaScript. Now this one you have to be careful with because sometimes, really with any of them, but in particular JavaScript, sometimes you'll put it on the request blocking expressions list and it will actually break the page because sometimes it might actually block requests that actually are necessary to the website. So sometimes you have to be a little bit more surgical about it, but for this particular site, we're going to be a little bit more aggressive right at the beginning, and we're going to say block all JavaScript. So we've got auto block on. We're blocking images, media, CSS, and JavaScript. We're going to come in and take a look and see how fast this agent will run now. You can see that it obviously looks really different now. There we go. We've got our first one, second. A lot faster than 2.5 minutes, huh? There we go. So there we go. Just under 20 seconds now to get all of these items. And literally all we had to do was enable auto block and then block a few other things. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the navigation request now and see how we're looking. So we're going to remove these blocked ones. So now we can see we've made it down to only 6 requests. We can see the auto block has placed a lot of other request blocking expressions in here. We're going to save that. And this is what we're left with, just these right here. And if you actually look at these requests right here, you can kind of see that these are actually the only ones that are necessary. We're loading ksl.com, that's necessary. That's the main page that we're going to. And then these other ones, Facebook faces a day of reckoning, at least on Wall Street, right? These titles here are actually just the titles of these headlines, which you can kind of connect and realize that these are actually just the links we're clicking to get to the next page. So we've actually cut down every single other request on the page besides the ones that are necessary to actually load the main page. So it's pretty cool that just by enabling auto block and a couple of request blocking expressions, we've been able to not only shave the time but make it so that we are no longer dependent on any other resources, just on the main pages. So yeah, this is kind of our first one. We've got one more agent I want to look at. It'll require a little bit more advanced techniques with request blocking. If you guys do have questions, start sending them in now. I'll try to tackle a few of those towards the end of the webinar. But this is where we wanted to get to so far. So we're going to go ahead and open up one other agent that I'll hope will also give us a good example of how request blocking can help. So give me just 1 second while I reopen that other agent. All right. So this one's a monster. It's got tons of requests, and as you guys start building lots and lots of agents, you're gonna find that unfortunately there's a lot of websites that you just can't get around it. That they just overload their page with ads and analytics and images and media and background stuff that really has no place in what you're trying to do. So we're gonna let this one load up real quick. I'm actually just gonna cancel it, and this one will probably take even longer than the other one, so I'm gonna set a test setting refinement so that we only include the first 2 items. So all this one's doing is it finds a list of products, and then it's clicking into each product and capturing the product details on the next page. So hopefully we won't crash the builder with this one, but we're gonna try and see what happens testing this one. See how long it takes us to get just 2 items. And we'll kind of keep an eye on these navigation requests as it's going through. It's already at 164. Let's put that timer back up. 211. Over 300 now. We still don't have any actual results yet. About to hit 500 requests, and you're probably right now thinking the same thing, right? There's no way that we actually need over 500 requests to get some products and their links and some details about them. So we finally clicked into the first one now. It's still loading up this second page now. So page 1, remember, had over 500. Page 2 got about 300 right now or so. Still haven't gotten any results yet, though. I'll tell you, once you start getting really good at request blocking, you start to almost not even have the patience to wait for these ones that take a long time. So hopefully all of you are able to start implementing this in your agents so that you're not sticking around waiting for a lot of things you don't need. See this first page now? We've got over 600 requests now. Still don't have any results. Waiting for 79 items to load on the page. Yeah, there's no way we need any of that. So, I think it kind of speaks for itself, right? We're pushing 2 minutes now, and we still haven't gotten any results. So I am going to go ahead and pause this agent, and we're just going to start request blocking because I think we're all ready to start getting some data. So we're going to immediately come back, and the first thing we always do, right, is apply auto block. Now, it might not be enough in this case. We're going to see, though. We're going to test this agent now with just auto block applied. Remember, we were already over 2 minutes and didn't have any results before. We're going to see if auto block, gets us a little bit closer to getting some data. You can see the red that it's already starting to find some requests to block. Check it out. It already got through page 1. Moving on to page 2 now. There we go. We got our first item. Took about 35 seconds. Let's see how long the second one takes. It looks like it still might be struggling a little bit, even with auto block on. We were able to get the first one really quick, right? But the second one might still have quite a few too many requests to be able to process in a quick enough amount of time, right? So we have cut it down quite a bit to 179 items. Looks like it just got the second item. So there we go. We went from getting no results in 2 minutes to getting both results in less than a minute and a half, which is great. But I'm sure you guys are all thinking the same thing as me, right? It's not fast enough. So let's keep going. We're going to apply a couple more request blocking techniques and see just how fast we can get this one. So we're going to come in here. We've already got auto block, and keep in mind the auto block is almost always going to be your first step. And as a matter of fact, the retroactive request blocking setting that I'm going to show you at the end of the webinar actually applies a lot of the same principles as auto block. So I'll explain that a little bit later, but just keep that in mind. So we're going to open up our request blocking window. Here's all the ones the auto block was blocking. And we're going to get rid of media and images and CSS. Now I'm going to leave JavaScript right now. We'll test it again on our next iteration. But for now, this site seems really big, a lot of moving pieces, so we might want to be a little bit more on the cautious side this time, but we'll try it on our next way through. So we're going to go ahead and test this agent now, having blocked all those things, and see how long it takes us now. You can see that the page starts to look quite a bit different, and that's okay, right? Like we said, the purpose of agents is not to have it be visually pleasing, but to actually get the data. While you're building the agent, I'd recommend leaving CSS in. That'll be up to you though, but I would recommend leaving CSS in because that will leave the page looking in a way that's a little bit easier to interact with. But when you're actually running it, there's really no reason to leave CSS on there. So there we go. We got our first one, second one. Hey, check that out. We got it down to 37 seconds. So the last run was, I believe, just under a minute and a half. So we've shaved off nearly a minute just by blocking a few more things. So let's keep going, right? Let's see what more we can do. Like I said, let's go ahead and try JavaScript now. And we're going to see if it still works doing that. So we'll test this agent. It's going through. Check that out. It looks like we actually hit an error. So it's important, and that's okay. It's important to know that this will happen sometimes because request blocking is an iterative process where you block some things, make sure that the agent still works, and if it doesn't, you might need to take a step back. So it looks like from what we just saw, right, that request blocking somehow made it so that the capture details didn't get pulled in correctly. And that was based on our adding the JavaScript. So we're going to actually go ahead and remove the JavaScript blocking expression, save the agent. Now it's back in a working state, right? I'm going to test it just so that we can run it and get all of our requests back in place. And I'm going to teach you a couple more advanced request blocking techniques to kind of finish up this agent and get it into a good spot. So we'll let that run. We'll let it get just one result. Yeah, so I'll stop that now. Now let's take a look at these requests. So far we've worked with AutoBlock. We've worked with the predefined ones here in this window. Now we're going to get a little bit more advanced and actually look at these requests that are going on. One of the best things you can do when starting to block off this page is to organize by root domain. So if you click the root domain heading, it'll organize these so that it shows you all the ones that are specific to the same domains. So you can see right away as I've scrolled down, right, we were blocking images before, but we see this img.com ending to this domain here, and that img, that's image, right? And so you start to realize that some of these requests are images. Even in the actual request it says image in there. So maybe our predefined image request blocking expression wasn't quite surgical enough to get these ones that are represented a little bit differently. So you can actually block anything on this domain simply by clicking on one of the options that has this root domain, and it'll put a little checkbox here. And you can come up here to this block button, and we can say block root domain. So now it just added that root domain to our request blocking expression list. We're not going to time it right now, but we are going to test it to make sure that it's still working right. If it breaks, we want to go back and remove that one. But if not, we're going to probably leave it how it is right now. Alright, so it looks like it is still working, so that's great news. So we won't need to kind of take a step back and remove that one, and let's go look at what requests are left over still. So we'll organize by root domain again. So now we're gonna kind of get back to that point we were earlier, where we're just gonna be a little bit aggressive and try to block anything that doesn't seem like it's necessary on the page. So as you start reading through some of these root domains, and you'll get familiar with these types of domains, and you'll start to know which ones aren't quite necessary. This first one looks like a JavaScript action. We probably don't want to mess with that yet, but let's start looking through these. This one, CloudFront, that's going to be a one right off the bat that you probably won't need most of the time. You'll notice it'll put a checkbox here. Here's a google.com root domain. We've never ever wanted, or like on this page, why would we actually want to pull something from Google, right? If you scroll over, you see that it's got the word ads in it. So these are probably ads or analytics, things like that. So we're going to block Google as well. And you can see that it's checking both of these boxes right here. We're going to just kind of go down this list, and every time we see a unique one that we don't think belongs, we're going to try to block it. So googleapis.com, we probably won't need that. Probably won't need that one or that one. And all I'm doing is clicking on these, and it's making the checking the boxes over here. Now these are the actual domain of the page, so we'll probably want to leave those on, at least for now. And that's the end of the list. So let's go ahead and come back up here to our block button. We're going to say root domain. So it's now just blocked all these ones that we were selecting. And we're going to give it another shot. And if this works, I think we'll probably be near to as close as we can get, but we'll probably do one more iteration after this one. Oops, kept that running. So let's let this one run now. See how long this takes now that we've blocked a whole lot. There we go. So we got both of our results. Took about 25 seconds this time. Can't remember what we got last time, but I think we managed to shave off at least another 5 seconds on that. And we'll do one more iteration through our navigation requests and take a look and see what's left. So we'll organize by root domain. We can see that when we do that, all that's left are pretty much all the same domain, which is the main domain, which gets a little bit harder to start parsing through because we don't want to block things that are necessary. So let's instead go ahead and organize by domain. Probably won't take too much time to explain the difference between these two today, but essentially root domain, right, is the main domain for the page, but then there's other subdomains that it might be getting information from. So for example, we see that here's probably the main one. We see that a whole bunch of them follow this pattern here, but these ones up here are a little bit different. So once again, we're going to be a little bit aggressive, and we're going to block these ones that don't quite look like they belong. We'll see if there's any at the bottom. Doesn't look like it there. So we're going to say block, and instead of doing root domain now, right, we're going to do domain, because we're going to block by domain. And just so you guys know, this is probably the last iteration we're going to do of request blocking for this particular agent. When you do have some time, feel free to play around with these other three, file and extension, domain, and file full URL. Those are a little bit more advanced. These two are going to serve you a lot, though, if you get really fluent at using these. So we're going to block the domains associated with the ones that we were clicking. And we are going to go through and test this agent one more time. All right, so here's our last go through. We're going to hit test and come time this. So keep in mind, when we started building this agent with no request blocking, it took over 2 minutes and we still didn't even get a single product. When we put auto block on, we were able to get the first product or two in about 1 minute and 20 seconds, I believe. And now with all of our request blocking techniques that we've learned being applied here, we have now been able to get it down to about 25 seconds. So there we go. And one of the cool things about request blocking, right, is that as you notice, right, we can already see huge improvements, and we're only scraping 2 items. So imagine, when you're trying to scrape that hundreds or thousands of items, the amount of time you can save just by even clicking auto block, or by going in and blocking images and media and stuff like that. So I think that's probably about as far as we're going to get with request blocking today. There's still some more advanced techniques. If you're really anxious to learn more about it, I'd recommend reaching out to either your customer success manager or support department. They'll always be happy to answer any questions you have about this. Any questions you have right now, please fire them in, and we'll hope to get to those before the end of the webinar. But before we get there, there's one more thing I want to show you, which is what the title of our webinar suggests, which is our retroactive request blocking setting. So the first thing I'm going to do is just save this agent right here to my account, and I'll show you what I'm talking about once we get there. So I'm sure a lot of you, if you haven't used this before, you're starting to get pretty excited about what you can do, and I'm sure many of you probably have a problem that you maybe already have over 50, over 100, over 1,000 agents, and you're a little bit worried, about having to go in individually and set these request blocking expressions for each one, because obviously that could be quite a pain to do that for each of those. So once again, what I'm about to show you is not the what should be your first approach for request blocking by any means. This is specifically for those clients who maybe have many agents and don't quite have the time to go back into all the old ones that they've created over the years that were created without this feature. So I'll show you really quick what that is. If you click into the agent, you go to the agent dashboard, you come into the tools menu, harvesting settings, click there, and you come over here to the advanced tab and click into there. And this is the setting that we're going to talk about now. It says automatically block navigation requests from domains in the Mozenda block list. So that setting is very close to the equivalent of what auto block is in the agent builder. If you guys remember, right, that auto block button, I'll bring it back over so we can take a look at it. This button right here will block the same requests that this setting will do. So remember, we were able to get it down from 2 minutes, not being able to collect any results, down to 1 minute and 20 seconds just by clicking auto block. So I would encourage each of you that maybe do have many agents and can't quite spend the time to go in and modify each one individually, come in and enable this setting. And once you check it and hit save, when you run the agent, it will block all the requests on the standard block list real time. Now keep in mind, this won't be written to the definition of the agent as it does when you do it in the agent builder, but it will do it real time as you're running the agent. So this is a really great opportunity for many of you. If you do have agents that maybe take longer than you'd like, or maybe aren't as reliable because there's so much stuff going on, they might crash. Try enabling this setting. We do have a warning right here, and I'd like to iterate that it really is important to monitor agents that you've placed this setting on very closely after you do enable the setting, because there is potential that auto block might occasionally block requests that are necessary. It's very rare. I would say the grand majority, almost every time, auto block or this retroactive request blocking setting will do nothing but enhance the agent. But just keep in mind that when you do enable the setting, do your best to monitor it and make sure that it's not actually breaking any pieces of the agent. So that's about all I had planned to go over in the webinar today. Now, obviously, request blocking is a really general and huge topic, and there's a lot we can still learn and talk about. So if you do have questions, please send them into the chat. Reach out to our CSM department or our support department, and we would be happy to kind of give you a little bit more advanced training one-on-one on how to get really good at blocking navigation requests. But thanks everybody for participating. I'm going to just take a minute to see if we've got any questions we can field. So just give me 1 minute, and like I said, if you do have any or any coming into your head, send those in as well. Okay, so here's one question. This is a great question. It says, when you add request blocking expressions like images, media, etc., does that change the location where Mozenda will find the click item? So that's a really good question. The cool thing about, specifically if we're talking about images, when we block the request, those images, the product or the image links, are typically still going to remain inside the HTML document. So you can even download images even though you're technically blocking the request. Generally, unless there was a JavaScript action that we block that alters the page, generally request blocking will not change where things are located on the page. Now I say that, I use the term generally, right? Because there will be times that you might block something whose purpose was to, once it was requested, come in and alter the page, but that is rare. More common with JavaScript actions than anything else, because JavaScript is involved with bringing data in and manipulating the page based on that data. But that's a great question. But you shouldn't be scared, for example, that all your capture actions aren't going to work anymore because things move around. Request blocking simply stops the agent from pulling in outside resources, but the initial document that you're requesting, whatever website you're requesting, that should still remain fairly identical to what it is before request blocking. But that was a great question. Thanks for sending that in. We are running pretty short on time now. I don't think we've got any other questions we want to field right now. If you do have any last minute ones, please send those in. I know it's a pretty new topic, so some of you might be trying to kind of absorb everything you can, and I'm sure the questions will come to you later. So when they do come in, either email our support department or call in, and we'll be happy to help you. But I just wanted to thank everybody for participating in the webinar today. I hope that you're able to have a little bit more success with your agent building in terms of speed and reliability as you start to apply these techniques. And thanks for taking the time to be with us today. Bye.